a human man named Ethan, standing in chains inside a massive alien throne hall. Around him are towering alien warriors, all armed, all silent. The alien queen, beautiful but terrifying, watches him closely. Viewers are told early. This human was not a hero, not a soldier, not important, or so everyone believed. Ethan was only a low-level human technician, taken during a diplomatic mission gone wrong. He survives only because the Queen's elite bodyguard, Kalira, finds him strange and amusing. Kalira is feared across the galaxy. She has never smiled at anyone. During a tense moment, Ethan jokes to hide fear. "Wow, you're amazing. Guess that makes me your husband now." Everyone freezes. The Queen's guards prepare to kill him. Then Kalira laughs. She loudly says, "Then husband, stand behind me." The hall explodes into shock. The Queen does not deny it. Viewers are left wondering. Was it a joke? A trap? Or something deeper in alien culture? Ethan is taken to live inside the palace instead of being executed. Alien nobles whisper. The Queen watches Ethan carefully, testing him. Kalira begins to protect him openly, calling him husband in public. Ethan learns. Kalira's species only bonds once. Calling someone husband is sacred. Enemies of the Queen see Ethan as a weakness. Assassination plans begin. An assassination attempt happens during a royal event. Alien guards fail due to arrogance. Ethan notices a flaw in the palace shield system. Using human logic and fast thinking, he saves the Queen. The Queen realizes humans are different. They adapt. They think under fear. Kalira looks at Ethan with real respect for the first time. The Queen announces, "The human will stay." A powerful alien empire declares, "If the human lives, we go to war." Final line tease. The joke was over. The consequences were just beginning. Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The Great Hall of the Zarelian Empire was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence. This was the kind that pressed down on the chest. The kind that made breathing feel loud. Ethan stood alone at the center of the hall. His hands were bound behind his back with glowing restraints. Cold metal rings circled his wrists and ankles. They hummed softly, reminding him that escape was impossible. Around him stood alien warriors. They were tall, broad. Their armor looked grown, not built, like living metal wrapped around their bodies. Each one held a weapon that could tear a human in half without effort. Ethan swallowed. He was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He was not even important. He was just a human technician. A systems worker. Someone who fixed machines and cleaned data lines. And now, somehow, he was standing in front of an alien queen. At the far end of the hall, seated upon a massive throne of black crystal, was Queen Sarilith. Her eyes glowed faintly gold. Her face was calm but not kind. She looked at Ethan the way one might look at a puzzle or a threat. Ethan tried not to shake. The voice of the royal herald echoed through the chamber. "Human Ethan of Terra, you stand accused of entering restricted imperial space. You stand accused of witnessing royal secrets. The punishment is death." Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. Death. Just like that. No trial. No argument. He forced himself to breathe. He had learned one thing in his short, messy life. When fear had no answer, humor sometimes did. Before he could stop himself, Ethan let out a weak laugh. It echoed far louder than he expected. Several alien warriors turned toward him instantly. Weapons lifted. Energy blades ignited. The Queen raised one finger. They stopped. Her gaze locked onto Ethan. "You find this amusing, human?" she asked. Her voice was smooth. "Cold. Ancient." Ethan's mouth was dry. "No," he said honestly. "But if I don't laugh, I think I'll scream." A murmur rippled through the hall. Humans were strange creatures. Too loud. Too emotional. The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then she looked to her right. Standing beside the throne was Kalira, the Queen's bodyguard. She was taller than the others. Her armor was darker, marked with symbols of countless battles. Her eyes were sharp, dangerous. Kalira had killed kings. Entire species feared her name. And yet she was watching Ethan with curiosity. Not anger, not disgust. Curiosity. Ethan noticed. He tilted his head slightly, trying to ignore the fear screaming in his body. "Well," he said, voice shaky but steady enough, "you're amazing." The hall froze. No one spoke like that here. Not to royalty. Not to warriors. Ethan shrugged weakly. "I mean, really amazing. Guess that makes me your husband now, right?" Silence. Absolute silence. Every weapon in the room shifted toward Ethan. The Queen's eyes widened. The herald inhaled sharply. A single word like husband carried deep meaning in the Zyrelian Empire. It was not a joke. It was a bond. Kalira's hand tightened on her weapon. Ethan realized his mistake instantly. "Oh," he said quickly, "that was a human joke, bad timing, very bad." Kalira laughed. The sound cut through the hall like thunder. It was sharp. Real. No one had ever heard her laugh before. She stepped forward. Her boots echoed against the crystal floor. Then she stopped beside Ethan. She looked down at him and smiled. "Then husband," Kalira said loudly, "stand behind me." Gasps filled the hall. The Queen rose from her throne. "You dare claim bond without consent," the Queen demanded. Kalira turned her head slightly. "I laughed," she replied. "That is consent." Ethan's knees nearly gave out. "What?" he whispered. Kalira shifted her stance, placing herself between Ethan and the warriors. From that moment on, every weapon in the room pointed away from him. The Queen studied Kalira carefully. Then she sat back down. "Very well," she said slowly. "The human lives for now." Ethan exhaled shakily. He was alive. For now. Ethan was escorted through the palace, not to a cell but to a private chamber. The room was large, clean, guarded. He sat on the edge of the strange bed, hands finally free. His head spun. Kalira stood near the doorway, watching him. "You did not fear death," she said. "Oh, I did," Ethan replied, "still do." "Then why joke?" Ethan sighed. "Because fear doesn't ask permission, and sometimes laughing keeps it from winning." Kalira considered this. "Humans are illogical." "Yeah," Ethan said, "we get that a lot." She studied him more closely now. "You are weak." He nodded, physically, absolutely. "You are fragile." Also true. "You should not have survived." Ethan smiled faintly. "Story of my life." For the first time, Kalira did not correct him. Over the next days, Ethan learned the truth. Kalira's species bonded only once in their lifetime. Laughter during a challenge meant acceptance. By joking in the face of death. And making Kalira laugh. Ethan had unknowingly bound himself to the most dangerous warrior in the Empire. The palace whispered. Nobles watched him with hatred. Warriors with confusion. The Queen watched him with interest. And somewhere in the dark halls of the Empire, Enemies began to plan. The attack came during a public ceremony. Music filled the air. Lights shimmered. Ethan stood near Kalira, trying to look calm. Then he saw it. A flicker in the shield grid. A pattern he recognized. His eyes widened. "That's not right," he whispered. Kalira turned. "What?" Before she could react, explosions shook the hall. Energy blasts tore through the air. Guards fell. The shield failed. Ethan grabbed Kalira's arm. The power flow loops back on itself. It overloads. She stared at him. "Fix it." "I can't reach it," Ethan said, "but I can reroute it if you give me 30 seconds. Kalira nodded. She moved like lightning, clearing a path. Ethan ran. Hands flying. Mind racing. He rewired the system with bare hands. The shield flared back to life, just as a blast hit the barrier. The Queen survived. The attackers fled. Silence returned. The Queen descended the steps of her throne. She looked at Ethan. "A human saved my life," she said. The hall bowed. Kalira placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You are not weak," she said quietly. Ethan exhaled. He was still alive. But now the galaxy had noticed. Far away, an enemy empire received the report. Their message was simple. "If the human lives, we will go to war." The message spread across the galaxy in less than a day. A human had saved the alien queen. Not a warrior. Not a commander. A human technician. Many laughed. Others felt fear. The enemy empire did not laugh. They sent their answer in fire. The first warning came from the outer sensors. Red lights filled the palace command chamber. Multiple hyperspace ruptures detected, an officer reported. Enemy fleet approaching. Queen Saralith stood slowly. "How many?" she asked. The officer hesitated. "Enough to burn this world." Silence followed. Ethan stood near the wall, hands clasped, heart racing. He knew what this meant. This war was because of him. The Queen turned her glowing eyes toward Ethan. "You are the reason they come," she said calmly. Ethan nodded. "I know." Some nobles shifted, angry. Others looked afraid. The Queen studied Ethan for a long moment. Then she surprised everyone. "Then you will help us stop them." Ethan blinked. "Me?" "You see patterns my people ignore," the Queen said. "You think while afraid, that is rare." Kalira stood beside him. "You will not face this alone," she said. Her voice was firm. Protective. Training began immediately. But Kalira did not train Ethan to fight. She trained him to survive. "How do humans win wars?" she asked as they walked through the combat hall. Ethan thought for a moment. "We don't," he said. "We endure them." Kalira frowned. "Explain." "We lose battles," Ethan said. "We adapt. We change faster than the enemy. We use tricks. We make mistakes, then we stop making them." Kalira considered this. "You fight without honor." Ethan smiled faintly. "We fight to live." For the first time, Kalira did not argue. Ethan was brought into war meetings. Alien generals spoke with confidence. "Our ships are stronger. Our weapons are superior. Our warriors are unmatched." Ethan listened quietly. Then he raised his hand. The room went silent. "This fleet," Ethan said, pointing at the hologram, "moves in perfect lines." "Yes," a general replied proudly. "That's a problem," Ethan said. Confused murmurs followed. "Perfect lines mean perfect expectations," Ethan continued. "You know where you will be. So will the enemy. The Queen leaned forward. What do you suggest? Ethan swallowed. Break formation. Hide ships behind debris. Use false signals. Make them chase ghosts. The generals objected. That is cowardly. That is human, Ethan replied calmly. The Queen raised her hand. We will try the human way. The battle began above the planet's atmosphere. Enemy ships filled the sky like a metal storm. Energy fire lit the darkness. Alien fleets moved forward with discipline and pride. Then they scattered. Enemy targeting systems failed. False signals flooded their sensors. Ships fired at empty space. Explosions erupted where no one was. Confusion spread. Ethan watched from the command deck, heart pounding. It's working, he whispered. Kalira stood beside him, armored and ready. You were right, she said. Then the enemy adapted. A heavy cruiser broke through the chaos. It aimed directly at the palace. Shields won't hold, an officer shouted. Kalira turned to Ethan. Stay here. No, Ethan said. She hesitated, then nodded. They ran. The palace shook as blasts hit the barrier. Ethan reached the control chamber. His hands flew over alien systems, mind racing. This design assumes honor, he muttered. They'll never expect this. He rerouted power. Overloaded false targets. The cruiser fired. The beam curved, misdirected. It slammed into its own fleet. Enemy ships collided. The sky burned. The enemy commander ordered retreat. Cheers filled the command deck. The war was over. Just like that. After the battle, silence returned. Smoke drifted through the sky. The Queen summoned Ethan and Kalira. You changed the course of this war, the Queen said. Not with strength, but with thought. She turned to the court. Let it be known. Humans are no longer considered weak. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. Kalira stepped closer to him. You stood when others would flee, she said. You are worthy. The Queen raised her voice. The bond stands, she declared. The human remains. No one argued. Later, in the quiet of the palace garden, Ethan sat beside Kalira. Stars glowed above them. So Ethan said softly about that joke. Kalira looked at him. Do humans often joke about life bonds? Only when terrified, he admitted. She considered this. Would you take it back? Ethan looked at her. At the warrior who laughed when no one else could. At the protector who stood between him and death. No, he said. I don't think I would. Kalira nodded. Good. She reached out and took his hand. Not as a warrior. Not as a guard. But as an equal. Far across the galaxy, stories spread. Of a fragile species that laughed at death. Of a human who changed an empire with a joke. Of a queen who trusted an outsider. And of a warrior who learned that strength came in many forms. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. Final line. One joke. One human. And an empire that would never dare to laugh at humanity again.